you've ever seen. So hello, peace. Hello, joy. Hello, love. Hello, strength. Hello, hope. It's a new horizon. Hello, peace. Hello, joy. Hello, love. Hello, strength. Hello, hope. It's a new horizon. If you're ready for a breakthrough, you can open up and just reach. Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Megan DiMartino, and this is the Propel Deep Dive. I'm having major computer and electronic issues, but you know what? This is the evening of commitment, and I have a commitment to be here for you, with you, and we are going to forge on, and the show will go on. And tonight, my special guest is a new friend that I've met in the last year. His name is David Strauss. And is an extraordinary man that has a compelling story that I know will truly resonate with you, not only for tonight's commitment piece, but also just in general for that propelling your business and life forward. His story, I'm not going to share too much because I want David to, but I met David about a year plus ago with Sharon Lecter, and I speak about her all the time, and Sharon and Michael Lecter, and that and during their mastermind. And so he and I are part of that mastermind. And he's been talking about helping others write books and his own book, and just programs that he does and real estate that he does and so many things. But most importantly is his heart. You know, everyone who knows me knows that the heart of a person is most important. Their character shines through, who they are, what they stand for. It just is a part of them. And so I would never invite anyone onto the Propel Deep Dive if I didn't know that that person had a heart to share. Again, not just talking about one of our 5 C's in the Propel program, but also their heart. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my friend, David Strauss. Hello, David.
Hey, Megan. So great to be here. Thank you so much for including me in your incredible community. I'm truly grateful to be here. You're just such a shining light in this universe, and can't thank you enough for this opportunity.
So now let me ask you, David, and Angeline, if you could come on for a minute too and stay on or not on or whatever, because she's a multitasker, my colleague and partner with this program. Can you guys hear me okay? What is the...
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. I love it.
Loud and clear. Okay.
Yeah.
I can hear you well, Angeline, but David, I can't hear you that well. Can you hear him?
I can hear David clear too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure we're all good. Now, David, just to give you some background to this, it's being streamed out to YouTube, into LinkedIn, to our Propel Your Business and Life Facebook business page, as well as our new Propel page on Clubhouse. So it's going all over the place. And then tomorrow, Elizabeth, who I mentioned earlier, will do a replay image, and we'll connect the video from this and the link to this rather, and people will then go and hear it forever and a day. Okay?
Very grateful. Thank you.
Truly my pleasure. Truly my pleasure. So what I'd like to really start this evening off with is a little background to you, meaning where you grew up, and go into then not, a brief overview of that, but then what led you into the shift in your life, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, great. I really appreciate that. So my journey began, believe it or not, in New York City. And I, was living there with my mother and my stepfather. And there were some tragedies along the way. My mother died at a young age, the age of 39. And as a result of all the family turmoil, I ended up becoming a runaway at the age of 15. Moved on my own, put myself through high school, put myself through college. And so there was a lot of turbulence in my childhood, like a lot of people have. I don't think I'm any different because of that. But over the years, there was a lot of unresolved pain from emotional abuse and other abuse in my life. And back in 2008, all that pain that I had buried and hid from the world just came percolating to the surface. It was right after the financial markets had crashed. And I was living in my new hometown of Telluride, Colorado. That's where I ran away to, went to high school there. And after the markets crashed, I went on a little walkabout to Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, to kind of reinvent my life and find a new sense of purpose because my real estate career had ended due to the crash. And while I was hiking, I was unexpectedly hit in the head by a falling rock while on the upper plateau of Chaco Canyon and faced the possibility of my own death. It was a very interesting day for me. I was on a normal national park trail. It was someplace that anybody could have found me that day, except that it was so hot that no one was hiking in that area except for me, and no one found me. And was hit by the rock in the head, went to the ground, was severely concussed, bleeding out of my head. And I had to do a self-rescue through the desert. And it was kind of the proverbial, walk through the desert with me and God, spirit, universe, however you want to define that. And it was the first time in my life I ever really faced death as a real possibility. In fact, there was a moment when I thought my life was over. And when I was walking through the desert, something really profound occurred to me. And this is really what changed my life. It wasn't the injury, because you can get injured anywhere in life on planet. It was the first time that I had to accept 100% responsibility for my life. And there was no one to blame. And we live in a world where blame is the new game and people are dodging personal responsibility. And I had no choice that day. Well, I did. I could have just died, but really, I chose to accept responsibility for my life. And that is really what changed the trajectory of my life into writing and speaking and mentoring and helping other people with their lives, is the simple concept that if you don't commit to your own life, how can anyone else show up for you? And that's the underlying theme of everything I speak about and write about. 100% personal responsibility is about commitments to yourself and your beliefs and your values. And that's what brings me here today through our mutual mentor, Sharon Lecter. So thank you so much.
Well, there's so many questions I have, with your story, but when you were 15, and this is, I guess, more on being a mother, so you were a runaway, but how did you get from New York City did you initially go to Telluride?
Yeah. So amidst all the turbulence, my mother was in a coma for the last year and a half of her life. And because of that, my stepfather, who I had been living with, my mother and my stepfather, he never adopted my sister and I. And so he had no custody rights over us. And our father, who was living in Seattle at the time, wanted to take us back. And so we had no choice but to fall under his wing. And I love my father deeply, but it was such a turbulent time that things didn't work out as well as planned. He was planning on moving to Telluride, so I followed him there. And then things became really shaky. He ended up leaving Telluride. I ended up going back to New York after my mother died. That fell apart. And then I ran away back to Telluride.
I see. So you had a little base there. My daughter Jill and her husband Steve moved to Telluride probably in 2018 and lived there for about a year and a half. And they were on a journey of living in areas, not cities, but Belize, one was Sedona, and then the last city or area they lived in the States before moving to Canada, because he is Canadian as well, was Telluride. So I had the great blessing of spending the 4th of July in Telluride, wow. 2019. And what a special little town that is. and probably littler then when you were there as a kid. But I could see, as you shared that tonight, I didn't know that piece, but as you shared that, I could see that that was a good nurturing place for you at that time.
Yeah, it's really interesting how God and the universe work. I was in the midst of turmoil, and of all places, I end up in one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And luckily, several people took me under their wing.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the gentlemen who I now consider my godfather, I'm friends with him to this day, and he really, helped me throughout my entire life since that time.
Wow.
And so, that all comes down to commitment. When I made a commitment to myself and to my mother at the time that I never wanted to disappoint my mother, even though she was dead. I didn't want to disappoint her. And I made that commitment to myself that I would do the best I can to be the best version of myself throughout my life. And I've done everything I can to stay true to that commitment. Doesn't mean I didn't do anything wrong and get in trouble. We all do that, especially when we're young.
Right.
But the underlying belief that when we think of things, when we commit to things that are higher than our own personality and ego, the universe really steps in and blesses us in ways, even in the darkness.
Well, we're speaking specifically about commitment this evening, but the 5 C's are clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. And when I was putting this together, and again, anyone that has worked with me, for me, been around me for years knows that I say all the time, clarity leads to power. Meaning that if you are not clear on something, you can't do anything. So what your journey of all of this was clear, meaning you knew that commitment to your mother was a foundation piece to your life. And so that, if you go back, and I don't mean just you personally, but anyone listening to us, to you and I, David, that you have to commit. And so why I called it Propel, your business and life activation program, is because I wrote it during, after selling a piece of my luxury day clinical medical wellness spa. I didn't sell the URL, the trade name Novitas Spa, which is federally trademarked, as well as the product line Novitas Spa Clinicals. But I sold an asset purchase. And it was during, it depended on where you lived, but it was in that COVID era. And so the closing was the end of June 2020, but I was working on, and that's how I started working with Sharon, by the way, because I called and spoke to Angela initially. Angela is her colleague that, runs the business and practice with Michael Lecter. And I said to Angela, I said, Angela, I'm at a place in my life that I have done all of these businesses by myself. I'm not saying that was good. All the mistakes were because I was by myself. But yet I give myself a hall pass because back in the day, I'm talking about 92 when I started my first business, there were very few women starting a business. And certainly in the industry I was in, which was the wholesale beauty industry, it was all men, which most industries are. And people think that's strange because it's beauty, but that's not. It's the, how the structure is. But anyway, the point is, I said that I need to have some guidance. I want somebody to listen to me and determine idea of what might I do next, so to speak. Now, I was going to continue on doing a part of the business, which was the product sale, as well as the regenerative stem cell. That's a whole other point. But the point of the point is that she helped me kind of clear out the dust and focus on that clarity piece, David.
Yes.
And help me to see that I have helped so many people, identify their dreams, goals, and desires and help them actualize them. So Megan, she says, why don't we, you put together a program? Now, she and I both agreed, I don't want to be a coach. I want to help people. I want to mentor people. But so that's how the Propel program came together. But the 5 C's are basically, David, the foundation, my non-negotiables of, first you have to be clear. But the second piece is you have to build that courage, And because of, you know, a lot of people, I hear this often with different people, a lot of people speak about clarity, of course, but they go from clarity to confidence and da, da, da. But you, man, you've got to have courage. And that's what you display. You display all of the 5 C's, meaning clarity, that courage, man, to do. I don't care if your father lived in Timbuktu, meaning he was still alive, but you still had to navigate through all of that, like you said, the trauma of it, and stay intact on some level. So, like you said, by the grace of God, you were guided, so to speak, back to Telluride and to your main mentor, godfather person who's been a part of your life. So, what age did you go to Mexico? What age did you do that trip?
So Chaco Canyon, New Mexico
New Mexico.
was September 7th of 2008.
Oh, 8. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
right
said
about
that. So
the
meaning you were doing real estate, things were not healthy, and
Right.
you took that sabbatical and that journey and you went to Chaco Canyon. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you then had that near-death experience, but on top of near death, you had to navigate physically, you physically get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah, it was an interesting day. Luckily, you know, having spent a lot of time in Telluride, I had some backcountry first responder training experience. So intuitively, in my subconscious mind, I knew how to kind of navigate trauma and a crisis. Didn't diminish the fact that I was bleeding out of my head and concussed, and you know what really saved me, and I do believe that there are God moments in life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's more than one, yeah, for all of us.
Oh, yes.
But what I remember, and I remember all this because I journaled during my recovery, so I was able to kind of piece things back together. But after I woke up from being concussed, and that was just moments, I imagine,
Mm-hmm.
I was very disoriented. I didn't know where I was, who I was at the moment. There was no cell phone service at the time in that area. And I really didn't know where to go from there because I was out in the middle of the desert in an unfamiliar area. And I saw these impressions in the sand, like footsteps in the sand. And intuitively, I thought, I'll just follow those footsteps.
Wow.
And that will take me to somewhere, hopefully the trailhead, which it did. And it took me to the upper level trailhead. And when I was hiking there, that's where I was expecting to see a bunch of tourists who could rescue me. You know, I had the little proverbial walk through the desert that I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And when I got to that upper plateau, there was no one there. And that's when I thought my life was going to end. I really thought the birds were going to come down and eat my eyes out, and that was it. And I had this moment of complete surrender, and I just let go of my life. And the moments later, I started being breathed, like something took over my breath. And that voice internally kept saying to me, stand up, stand up. You know, it's, close to 100 degrees outside. The blood is caked to my face and head. I have almost no water left. And I stand up and I end up doing the rest of the hike. And that experience really is profound because.
Well, the piece that you just said right now is profound. I heard this last night and I wish I could tell you, it was scrolling, putting my own social media stuff on, and this young lady spoke about, and you know how when you're scrolling through and different prayer people come on and different things, well, she was speaking to somebody, there was somebody with her, and she was speaking about the name Yahweh. And she was speaking about how with Moses, he asked God, who are you? And God said what he said, I am that I am. And so from there, and she was speaking about how it really, the interpretation or the true in the Old Testament, they added vowels. She said, because we like vowels, but it was more aligned with breath.
I like that.
Yeah, And she said, if you think about a baby being born, that's what comes out first, that breath of God.
Yeah. It's
And
beautiful.
when you pass, that's that is what happens. That's that last breath. Wow.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is like I always, I had never thought about that from a biblical perspective, but that's true. I do say that it was like a near-death experience.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was a rebirthing experience.
Yes. Yes.
Because the only way I could survive that day was by letting go. And really, you know, when you talk about the moments and being present,
Mm-hmm.
I had never been more present in the moment than the day that I thought my life was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done everything I can to maintain that presence. And I think when it comes to commitment in life and business, it's all about being present to the moment, committing to the moment.
Amen. Amen. But it's a very, I love this because it's taking that piece of commitment into a very non-business oriented, but yet total business. And that's why the title has business and life, because if your life is not congruent and aligned with your business or vice versa, as Sharon says, then you have a job.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's that understanding of that commitment to that, to commitment to that every day in every way. It's so important. I have to put my glasses on because I mean, quite frankly, I can't see, so I can't see at all. But I can't tell it because I don't know with what I'm really looking at there. But Angeline, are you there, my friend? So have you invited folks in?
I have. I was having technical difficulties myself. So
Okay.
it's just one of those days, I guess, you know. So
Yes.
this is where I'm like, this is all a God instance. Like, this message is so powerful, and this interview with you, David, is so impactful that the enemy is like, no, we're gonna make everything bad. And guess what? We're power through because that commitment to serve and be in
Mhm.
His kingdom and share His message is so great. I love this whole conversation. So thank you. But yes, I have invited people, so it's just taking a little.
Well, what you just said there is absolutely 100% true. And David, I'm sure you align so totally, because again, I was thinking as you were sharing your story, and we then have been dialoguing, I was thinking to myself, I really don't care if anyone comes in other than Miss Angeline, because, and don't misunderstand, I would love them to, but people will hear this, and it is so important. And so we will edit it and use it in so many different ways, and we're getting ready to I am getting ready to relaunch my podcast, which was called Unique Leaders. And I'm going to take the original, we did it for 2 years. And then I got a message in last January-ish to put it on pause because I knew I was going to be working on this Propel project, but also, God willing, opening this new clinic. So a lot on my plate. So, but I knew I was to pause it. But when you take these pauses, and that's, want to go into that pause, because you on some level spoke about that just now. But no matter what is going on in the day, no matter what is happening, positively or negatively, it is about being consistent and, committed, but you also use the word present. I love the word present. Not only the word, but the reality of staying in that present place. Yeah. Speak about that a bit.
So presence and commitment are really interesting. One of the insights I gained on that day when I was walking through the desert was realizing that, like, when we're ready to make a shift in our life, and we make that decision, that commitment to actually change or move our life in a different direction, mm-hmm. Our mind wants us to think everything is going to shift as we shift our thoughts and beliefs and our attention. But the reality is when we make a choice or a decision to commit our life to go in a different direction, we still have all the residue from our past choices behind us, and they still have momentum. And what prevents people from staying true to their commitments is the distractions of the residue of past choices. Mm-hmm. And the residue can include relationships that we no longer want to be a part of our life, financial choices, lifestyle. We always have the residue of our past that's competing against the present moment. And so when we want to make that shift, we have to recognize that the things that are going on in our life right now aren't necessarily a reflection of where we're going, but are a reflection of where we were. Mm-hmm. And so it can take time to create momentum in the new direction that we want to take our life, in the direction of our new commitments. And so we have to pause and recognize the difference between residual effects versus the new effects that we're creating with our new choices.
So, underscore the word so, true. Just today, Angeline, when I was working with Elizabeth on that original video that was done in 2020 and then 21, I have no idea what I said to her, but I said something like, and this is my graphic artist, David, who's been with me over 10 years, okay? And pretty much right out of college. And she had one job at FedEx, and then she went to the local paper, but then was working for me, with me. So she's learned so much of business through me and with me. But this whole process of this Propel program, which really started at the end of 20, because I went to the ranch in June of 20, by the way. That was my ranch experience. Because when I called Angela, she said, come on. And I did. I just said, I'm going. But anyhow, I said to Elizabeth today, something like, I'm really excited because I've allowed, and this is not quote unquote, but I said something, I have just been evolving and allowing it to evolve. And she made a comment that you could interpret it as negative. And she was like, well, I'm glad it's coming together, or something like that. And I said to her, I could take umbrage to that. I said, but I'm not, because I want you to see how if I had done things differently or pushed him like a square peg in a round hole,
yeah,
I wouldn't have met Angeline and so forth. And so it's really about that being present in the moment every day, listening to that inner voice and taking, and then when I said that to her, she was like, yeah, I see that, So, but people, like you're sharing, David, often are so out there that they don't allow themselves to take that stock, that check, and stay present.
Yeah, I love that. One of the other mistakes we make, and I don't want to call it a mistake, one of the other things that we do when—
I've made plenty, by the way, plenty.
Yeah, when one of the problems with not living in the moment, or what prevents us from not being present, is self-judgment and judgment of others. Because, I have a core belief that God or the universe are always conspiring in our favor, even if things appear to be falling apart. And, it comes down to the law of contrast. In order to find out who we are, we often have to discover what we're not. We need that contrast. We live in a three-dimensional world. We live in a world of polarity, and we need that contrast. And if we're judging ourselves and others, then we're not present in the moment, and we can't follow through with our commitments, because as long as we're judging what's happening to us, we don't see as far ahead as God sees far ahead. So we might not like what's going on in our life. Like when we ask for change, we want that change to be comfortable and fun and groovy. But the reality is, when you're pulling something apart, there's resistance. And being present in the moment is about acknowledging that when we commit to moving our life in another direction, there is going to be some pain and some resistance, but welcome that. You know, like when you're going through hell, don't stop, go through.
Yes, yes. Stay on that subway and move on through. So, Angeline, I'd like to bring you into this conversation right here, because you are in a period of evolving and change. And what does this pause and present, contrast, as David was speaking about, what does that have align with you in thinking about what's going on in your life right now? You there? Can you hear her, David?
I was muted.
Okay. Okay.
I was talking
See, I
to,
can't see a thing, so I depend on you guys. So
No,
go ahead.
you're good. When it comes to the pause, I feel that there's power in the pause, because in the pause, in the valley, in the having to stop, is where you really learn and can tap in to really hear and get clarity and understand the right direction. Is it a good? I've said this over and over again, and I'll beat a dead horse, but it's so true that, you know, without the pause, I may think it's a good plan, but with the pause, that's where I learned that it's a God plan instead.
Mm-hmm.
So back when I was learning and stepping into my sparkle, it was my forced pause and pushed me into a valley that really got me to be still and really listen to what next steps I should be taking. So sorry, I'm doing back end stuff though.
Okay.
I hope that
No,
answers
I
the
can always
question.
tell when you're when you're doing something. But she got very sick with COVID, David. And so that's what and she has a corporate job. She has 3 children, a husband, a corporate job that she's in management and in building this new business. So she's a smarty pants, as I call her, but God slowed her down into that a pause there. That's why when we spoke about that, I wanted, because she has spoken about this, and I wanted Angeline to share, because again, it's those moments in time as well that, and you also, the word surrender, I'd like to stop with that too, because Oprah has a famous story about when, with the color purple, and she really wanted that part that she played. And she did everything in her power that she could do. And it just wasn't coming along at all. And then all of a sudden she prayed and she said, God, I give it to you. I surrender. I surrender. And I've listened to this many times, and she says, and I surrender more. You know how Oprah talks. And then the next day she got the call about getting that part.
Wow.
Uh-huh. And so surrender is powerful, because we, our own egos, are manipulating and trying to change things and manufacture things, and you just can't. It is truly letting go and letting God, as they say, and surrendering, as you had to do there at that moment in time. But let's go back to commitment, though, because I've been in building these businesses since 1991, really, and 91 into 92, and launched the product line in the summer of 92, and through these wholesale beauty distributors, who I had worked with 2 other. One was Alcon Laboratories, which brought me to Texas in '87, and then my family's business that I worked with from '82 to '87 when I moved to Texas. And but that's an international company, WR Racing Company. So, but I was the national sales and marketing director for both companies in the beauty industry. So it made perfect sense to launch this skincare brand in the beauty industry. But guess what, kids? Skincare in 1992 didn't even really exist, let alone being a female, let alone being undercapitalized, all of those things. But I had an experience when I worked for Bloomingdale's in my early career in the buying office of cosmetics. And they had brought a line in called Biba, which is from London, Carnaby Street. And there was a real person named Biba. It's in the a movie about Freddie Mercury and his girlfriend Mary worked at Biba on Carnaby Street, Queen. And basically, that day in Bloomingdale's, I was at the Biba counter, which was in the junior department, very, very revolutionary. And I was listening to Bye Bye American Pie, drove my Chevy to the levee, and the levee went dry. And I had this moment in time. I was in my early 20s, and I said, someday I'm going to do this. And I didn't know what this was, meaning was it going to be a cosmetic glamour line or was it going to be skincare? I really had no idea. But I knew I was going to create something. I didn't say I had to have my own business, but I knew I was going to create something. And then fast forward all those years, when I decided, and I'm not going to go into the reason that propelled me out of Alcon, but when I decided that I could not stay there, my boss was just ridiculous. And I just knew I would not stay there. I started putting together what became Glycolique, but I had a lot of challenges. But I knew as I knew, I had to create that. And then I wanted to help others. That was very primitive at that point. That has become, over these 30 years, very crystallized. But the real point of this story is, as we've been speaking about, those, as Angeline calls them, those God moments, those God winks, those God circumstances. And you've spoken about it, David, throughout what you've shared. But I knew as I knew, but all these 30 years, I could have given up. Like my dad kept calling me saying, Meg, come back to New York. You're good at what you do. No, I can't. Sorry. And he didn't mean work for him. He just meant work, wherever. And I said, no, Dad, I can't. You know that. You're an entrepreneur. And so I've known as I know for my entire adult life that, and when Napoleon Hill speaks about burn the boats, I so resonated with that because, again, there was no going back. No matter how many mistakes I've made, which I've made many, and continue to on some level, but they're not as drastically bad mistakes because I have other people around me, and I've learned from these mistakes. And now they're just moments that I pull from all of this archive. But it is about that commitment that I know as I know that I'm going to continue on because my passion is creative, but my purpose is others, to help them identify their dreams, goals, and aspirations, and then attain them. So, and that, as I said earlier, that's really where this Propel program comes from. But it is that commitment. And Sarah Blakely speaks to, I love Sarah Blakely from Spanx, and she speaks to this from that start, scale, and then sustaining piece. So David, go into, and there is someone here, I got to see who this is. Oh, Maria. I wish I could sing. I would sing like, The Sound of Music. David, I'd like to introduce you to Maria Lind. I don't know if you know my beautiful friend. She knows Barbara, and she is
Brian on too, Megan.
Say it again?
We have Brian on too. So we have Brian and Maria, and Maine's listening.
Okay, now Brian is Brian who? Because I cannot see.
Mileto.
Okay, good. Hello, Brian. Welcome. Good evening. So I'll bring you into this conversation, Brian, in a sec. Let me introduce Maria. But Maria is a realtor and has her own agency on Long Island, David. So she's a Long Island girl too. All three Long Islanders, and Brian is from New Jersey. So we're all tri-state area kids. And but Maria is sitting in where? Where are you right now?
I am in my favorite space with my favorite blankie.
And what town are you in?
I'm on Long Island in Nassau County, west end of Nassau County. So where are you from, David?
Born in New York City, but raised in Telluride. Had a little detour through Great Neck, Long Island, and Kings Point earlier in my life.
Saudi Kings Point, right?
Yeah.
Saudi. Very nice. Well, you'll have to come to Nassau County and say hello.
Yeah, that sounds
Well,
lovely.
we have to have a New York get together. He's in Denver now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. My brother's in Denver. But David, we actually spoke when you were on Breakfast with Champions that morning. And
Last Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, it was Saturday. Time
Yeah.
flies. I no concept of time these days. I'm always working. But you were amazing. Absolutely. And Dancing with Vampires. Somebody brought that out of you. I guess I don't know. The whole conversation was about that. I walked in on it, but you were absolutely intriguing. And I'm sorry I missed the beginning of this because
Well, you'll have to listen to the replay because it was very, very powerful. But you're taking a segue here. And Brian, let me just have David speak about Dancing with Vampires, and then we'll come back because I think this is you'll enjoy this, David, Brian, rather. But we were talking about commitment, but we were talking about the pause, how important it is to then be, exactly. Being present.
the power of the pause.
The power of the pause. And we were just speaking about that, but also that, being present in the moment and listening. So we were just speaking about that. But David, Maria just brought up your book, and that's a good time. I'm looking now. I have glasses on so I can see the time. So share about how that was written, when that was written, and share a little bit about that.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my first book was called Footsteps After the Fall, and that was about my journey through the desert when I self-rescued myself. That was kind of my personal story. Dancing with Vampires, which is my most popular book, it's been in all 4 TV networks, was written with an understanding that I developed during my recovery from my head injury. And that is that the most important decision we will ever make in life is the people that we choose to associate with. And Sharon Lecter talks about that all the time, the power of association. And while I was recovering from that head injury, I took inventory of a lot of areas of my life. But one of the inventories I took was the people that were in my life. And I realized that I needed to make some changes and commitments to improve the quality of the relationships that I had in my life. And that wasn't easy because our personality and character wants to hold on to the past and wants to hold on to our habits and, all of those things that we identify with. And so I came up with the analogy of energy vampires. Energy vampires are the people and situations that suck the energy out of us. And more importantly, I talk about the inner vampire. The inner vampires are negative thoughts and beliefs. We attract into our lives the people and the situations that resonate with our vibration. So if we have a low self-image, we're going to attract people and situations that mirror our self-image. And we live in a world of blame and victimhood. And as soon as we start blaming people and situations for the problems that we're having, that's our inner vampire talking. And Dancing with Vampires is basically an opportunity for you to take a deep dive into understanding the importance of the relationships in your life. And I get into the law of attraction, the power of thought and vibration, but the underlying theme is accepting 100% responsibility for your life by accepting responsibilities for the relationships that are in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when did you write this?
I enjoy a little square root dancing now and then.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That was weird. I can.
It sounded like Siri.
It did. It sounded exactly like Siri. Siri, you cannot come into this conversation, girl. Sorry. So when did you write that, David?
So the first version of the book came out in 2015, and now I have an updated version, which is it's not yet available on Amazon, but it's available directly through me.
Right.
Either version is amazing.
Remember you saying that the next iteration of it was coming out very soon. So 15. So basically, and you have a program that's coming soon, a 14-day type of program, correct?
Yeah. It's called the Energy Vampire Boot Camp. It's about, it's a deep dive, 14 days about, discovering your inner vampire and the relationships that are dragging you down so that you can reset your life.
So there's two questions I'd like to ask you before I ask the last one. But Brian, is there anything you'd like to add? We're talking, oh, there you are. Hello, hello. Brian is in northern New Jersey, outside of the city. And he is a fabulous young man who actually, I have you on my to-do list, Brian, to speak to about helping me with LinkedIn. He just got certified or whatever it's called. So I need help everywhere. I'm doing this on my phone, guys. My computer is totally dead. Where I'm going first thing tomorrow morning is my computer person to see what's going on with all this. But Brian, we're talking tonight about commitment specifically. Part of my Propel program, the 5 C's, clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. But before you both came on, David and I and Angeline were speaking about how without clarity and then courage and confidence, you can't have commitment. So they all work hand in glove together at each step, whether you're starting a business, scaling a business, sustaining a business. But, today so many people start things saying, I don't think that's for me. And then they put it off on the shelf. Well, they have no commitment. And so they have done a myriad of things. Like you, Barbara, you, Maria, you were a math professor, but that leads to the next step, to the next step. That's what I was saying to Elizabeth today, David, like one thing is leading to the next, girl. It's not that, just because it's taking a little longer than you might perceive it should. But we were talking about the Propel program that I really started putting together in 20. But anyway, so you understand that, Maria, very clearly. But Brian, why don't you share a little bit of your thoughts about commitment? Because you're a truly committed man with what you're doing. And a little bit about yourself for David.
Yeah, sure. What I could say about commitment is when I commit to something, I commit to it 100%. And it may take some time to make that commitment. I could tell you there was a time 8 years ago where I was going through a lot of stuff at home because I was essentially walking away from going to mass at my childhood church and going somewhere else after I had found a young adult group that I used to be a part of. But I committed to that. And while I could not stay committed to potential conversion of religion for a number of different reasons, not really so much related to religion, but because of other things that people were questioning about me, I did commit to the communities and later found other ways to connect with people besides church, which involved networking and street fairs. And just want to make a little bit of a slight correction. I'm in central New Jersey, so I'm in Edison, right outside
Sorry.
of
New Jersey
Long
people
Island.
take that very seriously, yes.
But yeah, so that's, there's nothing against it, of course, and I've driven to parts of northern New Jersey.
Yes.
Which
New Jersey folks identify themselves at what exit on the Garden State. My sister is at 109, so she's made that very clear. She's at 109. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, Brian, for David's sake, share a little bit about your journey with autism and what you've done and how you have flourished on the clubhouse stage, and how that has really been a commitment of yours to show up.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. So what I've done is these days I make a lot of reels that are usually about autism, and I'm also I've been through a lot. I went through struggling with community as a kid and into my early adulthood. It took stepping away from my childhood church to really find myself. Um, but I've been working for an agency for over 14 years, and that was also helpful for
Wow.
me. It became it
Okay.
became an outlet outside of home to say what was going on here. So because I tend to be a little bit emotional and wear my heart out on my sleeve. Um, so so yeah, it's just
I gotta
about
say, Brian, you are so amazing. I just saw your post that you went to an event and you're like, I am so nervous about going to an event. Can you talk about that, where you went today? It was today, right? That I saw you post the event you went to, or was it yes,
that post
earlier
that
this week?
I saw where you I saw that post that you reacted to, Angeline.
Yeah.
That was actually last Thursday that I
Oh, last
went to that
Thursday.
event.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, that was a place called Eden Autism, and that particular chamber I had not met, and that's actually the town that Barbara Majeski lives in.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
so I unfortunately did not get to meet her in person,
And
and
you'll
I'm
get to meet
still
her.
awaiting that day. Um,
Yeah.
but
We're gonna put it out there.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you
Well,
committed. Go
David
event.
is a good friend of
You got
Barbara's.
there.
And pardon me? Say it again, Angeline.
I said
Sorry.
he committed to going to an event and trying and branching out, because it's been something he's been nervous about, right, Brian? Last time you talked about that. So I was so excited when I saw that I was like, yay, you're reaching out and attending things and being brave. I love it. So.
Yeah.
And I loved when you said that you tend to be emotional, and emotions can be a gift. I believe a lot of us are stuck in our heads, and a lot of our intuition is in our emotions. And one of my mentors a long time ago told me that the longest distance we'll ever travel is from our head to our heart. And so there's a lot of power in emotions. Now, for me, I've had a lot of emotions in my life too, and sometimes they've overruled me, and other times I've listened to them. And our emotions are an asset. And so I used to apologize for being emotional, and now I'm just pay attention to my emotions, because they're usually a good indicator of what I'm thinking about. So I think it's great that you're emotional. That's awesome.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I say I just give you such kudos and flowers, Brian, for not only, well, first off, like you said, David, I'm emotional. I'm Italian, and but it's part of my DNA. It's who I am. So instead of apologizing for it, like you said, understand it and work with it. And so it's become a positive, not, I mean, my parents used to say, stop being so emotional, type of thing. But it's like, my mother would call me Sarah Bernhardt. And, but it's helped me in good stead, like being on things like this. But Brian, that's why we all just so admire you. And last week, David, that's what Brian came in here a little later, because he went to that chamber thing, and he said that he he had reached out to Barbara. And last week we were, we were talking about confidence. Dora Maria was my guest, and we were talking about confidence. But again, you have to build that courage to have confidence. And so I said, well, let me make this perfectly clear, Brian. That took a lot of courage and confidence to reach out to Miss Barbara Majeski to invite her to that chamber meeting. So bravo. So I just got a thing with my electronic challenge here that I have to get my cord to charge my phone. But what I would like to ask, and it doesn't matter, this is my time, so whatever. Sharon Lecter, because that is how, by the way, Brian, David and I met through Sharon Lecter initially in a mastermind that we're involved with. And but her book with Greg Reed, which is 3 Feet from Gold, fabulous book. Have you read that, David?
I have not read it. I actually have it. I just got it from Sharon recently, so I have it on my shelf to read.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, okay. So it doesn't matter. Does
I
not
read
matter.
it.
But you've heard her teach this, her success formula, correct?
Yes.
You know, meaning it's your passion plus a talent times action times association plus faith equals success.
Yes.
So I'm going to repeat that. Your passion, that's why I told the little Tupperware, the Bloomingdale story, meaning my creative passion. Tupperware, not so much creative. But passion plus talent times association times action plus faith equals success. So every human that came on with me on Unique Leaders, if you go to Unique Leaders on YouTube, and I interviewed her rather, Glenn to, whomever, Greg Reed, but I asked them all the same question. What is your passion? So this is for you, David, my guest. What is your passion and what is your talent?
That's a really great question. A mentor of mine a few years ago asked me, what is my superpower? Because a superpower is your passion and your talent, right? And I was at a point in my life where I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to take my life. And, when he asked me, what's your superpower, i.e. your passion and your talent, I said, well, really, the gift that I've been given is the written word and the spoken word. And he said, well, then you need to pursue that, because by doing so, you will find yourself in the company of incredible people. Mm-hmm. And I made that commitment. And when you're working with your passion and your talent, when you make that commitment, what you're really doing is you're making an agreement with yourself. Like, I believe that the word commitment and the word agreement are synonymous.
Yes.
And so when we make agreements with ourselves, it's important that we follow through. And this is why, and this is a really simple answer to that question, is when we make agreements with ourselves and then we don't follow through those agreements, we're actually conditioning our subconscious mind that we're not the type of person that keeps our commitments, that keeps our agreements. And so it's really important that when we make commitments to things, if we're not going to keep those commitments, then we need to work on developing stronger commitment habits. And the way we do that is by making small agreements with ourselves that we know we can follow through on, so that we can recondition our subconscious mind that we are the type of person that keeps our commitments. And that's an entire subject.
Oh, yes.
But
Very much
commitments
so.
and agreements are synonymous. And so we have to pay attention to the commitments that we're making to ourselves and to others, because that really is our character.
But I love what you said about that superpower, meaning to combine that passion and talent together. And that's so true. But then without commitment, you're not going to actualize any of that. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Wow. So anyone, first off, before I ask this question, Angeline, have you taken a screenshot, my love?
Now let's do that now, because it's about time for us to wrap up as well. Thank you guys for joining us in the Propel, even with all the technical difficulties. I'm going to try to not have my phone in it. Smile. Thank you all. Yay. Okay. I love it. Love it. Love it. Meg, do you want to, oh, you said you had another question.
I do. I just wanted to, because again, this is my time, so I can go over, right? And last week, David, we went to 8:30 or 9:30, depending on what time zone. But it was a very robust room there. But my question is to Maria and Brian, is there anything you'd like to add to that? Meaning to passion plus talent. I'm not going to go into all, the other points of her success formula, but what is your passion? What is your talent? Maria, would you like to interject, my dear?
I was giving it to Brian, but sure. And I saw that he unmiked as well.
Oh, okay.
You're so
Okay.
right. No, I was actually thinking while David was speaking about that commitment to yourself. I feel like it goes back to that energy vampire. When you actually don't commit to yourself, to the things that you say you're going to commit to, you subconsciously expect yourself not to follow through and be truly committed, and therefore it drains your energy because you're less excited or less passionate about whatever it is that you're committing to. Well, because you can begin something, know that the end won't ever come of that something. So you're basically dragging your feet through the something. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yes.
very much so. Yes.
So do
And
I
that,
have,
you're
do I
right.
have, I'm sorry, do I have
Um,
your energy vampire right in my mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the energy vampire is anything, person, place, thing, thought, belief, situation that prevents you from getting to that high vibration of commitment and passion and purpose. It's really anything, and it's usually starting in our subconscious mind. That is where it all kind of sits. That's the
It's
root.
also delicious. It's also good because it really is that foundation of success. And success is very subjective, but it is really goes within, that mindset. But again, that vampire is out there to kill, steal, and destroy. And we have to be vigilant to not allow ourselves to succumb. So, Brian, my friend, what would you like to share?
Well, before I share that, I will say that to clarify for you, Megan, about the LinkedIn, that was being verified last week. I happened to fill out some stuff while I was bored at work and made that happen. What I will say about the passion is I bring a lot of energy with working out and and of course sharing about my autism and my regular job that I do, that I go to work 5 days a week for, and yeah, and I'm passionate about helping the agency grow, and staying true to my journey of good health, and being on my fitness journey for almost 16 years, and just this doing the best that I can through all the spaces. It's not always easy on Clubhouse, especially in spaces that are bigger, or like with Breakfast with Champions, where there's not really much wiggle room for those not doing segments to speak. But I just keep moving forward as best as I can, and just
Well,
not
do
let it
me a
get me down.
favor, Brian, do me a favor and message me your phone number and I'll text you and invite you into when I'm speaking. Okay? So, let
Megan,
me know.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
May I share a thought on success?
Say it again,
May I share some thoughts on the idea of success?
please. Please, please.
So for a long time, I used to really think that I'm not a successful person. And I was talking with a mentor of mine, and she said to me, well, how do you know? And I said, well, I haven't accomplished all these things. And she said, well, what's your definition of success? And I thought, well, I don't really have one. She says, well, how can you measure something if you haven't defined it?
Right.
And so she taught me that there's a difference between success and accomplishment. And this was a really important distinction for me. We have to define what success means to us. And we have, if we have high expectations of success, it's going to be harder to get there. Like if I said, I won't feel successful until I make $1 million, what that means is until I've made that $1 million, I feel unsuccessful, right? And so I was taught that if I have a mindset of being teachable and a growth mindset, if I made my definition of success, I am always learning and growing. That's my definition of success. Then I can accomplish that $1 million while enjoying the journey. So success isn't a destination. It's a mindset. Accomplishments are destinations. And we confuse destinations with mindset. And so I learned that I have to set a baseline of what does it mean for me to be successful. And so for me, I am successful when I am working within my passion and my purpose, when I'm committing to my passion and my purpose, and I'm learning, growing along the way. And by having that type of definition, I can now, instead of having a list of things I want to successfully achieve, these are just things I want to accomplish, you know, the dream home, all that. So that's my accomplishment list.
Right.
But my definition of success is a mindset that I can get to every day. And so I decided, for example, that, you know, a lot of people are looking for purpose in life. I believe your purpose will find you. But I believe that the purpose of my life is to touch the hearts of everyone that I meet. And the reason I made my purpose so simple is because that's something I can do every second of the day, whether it's the clerk at the grocery store, it's giving money to the homeless person, or being kind to other people. I define my purpose around something that I can do every single day. And so as long as I'm touching the hearts of people that I meet, I'm being successful. That's my core definition of success. Then comes my list of accomplishments. What do I want to accomplish?
Right.
That God-centered mindset.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know, now you know why I invited David Strauss. I mean, we're so aligned, David, so aligned. And that is, again, propel your business in life. It's not about exactly what you just said about success. It's about that propelling. It's that journey. It's about joy. It's about leaning in on that joy, right, Miss Maria? And all of this is a choice, and it's an everyday choice and a decision. But those accomplishments, like Angelina said, you know, I love her term, you have the receipts. Well, that's an accomplishment. You know, I have the blood, you have the blood, David, you're talking about your, you know, your gash on your head, right? You know, so those are receipts, but those are part of the journey, and success is that journey. And I couldn't agree more. Who is, I can't see.
We
I'm
have
really,
Miss Birdie here. Sorry for that loudness. We have Miss Birdie here. Hi, Miss Birdie. Would you like to add to the conversation? Thank you so much for popping in.
I just want to say that was awesome and amazing what he said. And the thing that I want to say about us and being a business owner is like a mystery. And our mystery, we have to accomplish a lot of goals with our mystery. And we got to give people that encouragement that you going to make it and you're not alone kind of thing, because so many people are alone and they think that they can't make it without, they don't have nobody to depend on. So we got to give them that assurity that you're not alone and we all in this together. And as long as we got this togetherness, we're going to make it out of it. And I just want to say I love you all and many blessings unto you.
thank you, sweet birdie. I appreciate you being here, dear. Really, thank you, Angeline, for doing that. You know, I'm going to, first off, David, and we could talk forever. So, you know, keep going on. But in respect to everyone, and certainly sweet Angeline, who has those 3 young men and her husband, we do need to say goodnight. But I'm going to leave with this quote. I was listening to Bertie. I was just thinking about it. It's one of my favorites by Eleanor Roosevelt. And you were talking about success, David, and that yesterday is a mystery. Tomorrow is a mystery. God's gift to us is today. That's why it's called the present. So we have each day, and we start over again. And it's that journey, but it's that commitment to self. And your book, David, and your course, just the more I listen to you, and like you said, Maria, listening to David last Saturday, when we're on our mastermind, we talk about our accomplishments, right? We talk about what we're doing, but you were talking about, that inner message from your book, which you don't speak about on the mastermind. And so this message and teaching must continue on, and it will, and you're committed to that. And with your passion and your talent all rolled into one as your superpower, that will continue on. And you're just beginning, David Strauss, and he helps others write books. I mean, he's a very accomplished man and very talented man. And so, Brian, I really suggest that you get to know David, because I think he would be really a mentor for you. Honestly, I mean that. I mean it. So, and David, we're going to all go to New Jersey. We're going to get Barbara, and we're all going to have dinner or lunch, or breakfast, or all of them with Brian. So, everyone's invited, and we'll all be there. That's going to happen soon. See, he's happy. He's doing his happy dance. So, guys, I really, truly appreciate you all being here this evening. And Angeline, I would like you to close with a little bit about
I'm
the
going to take one
source.
picture since we have Miss Birdie in here.
Oh, okay.
So
Goody.
everyone smile. I love it. Thank you so much. It'll be so great.
I'm so glad you came, Bertie, because that evens out the panel. I really don't like uneven things there on pictures. So anyway, Angeline, I'd like you to share about, and David, this would be great to come and hang a little bit, because you get to know a bunch of people, because there's a VIP and she'll explain this. So I want you to share
There's a
your
couple
program.
things I need to share. First of all, everyone go to Megan's Linktree so you can find her Austin Businesswoman of the Year award category and vote her amazing, beautiful business, Novita Regenerative and Wellness Business for Women-Owned Business of the Year of Austin, Texas. And it'll be, she's going to win that. So we're just going to claim it out now.
Yep.
We're all voting and sharing, and it's also on her page. So we're going to do that. But what Megan was alluding to, plus always come here and join us every week. She has a new guest here. You're going to go to propelmasterclass.com/deep dive to join us every week. And then you can come into here and talk and have a conversation. It's always so much fun. I love being here. And then the last thing is we are doing a summit. So Megan's going to be speaking with us. Maria is going to be there with the rest of the Sparkle Sisters, but we have a continuation of the BWC Dallas event. It was so much fun. Oh my gosh, I cannot. Live events are great, so this is why I'm so excited for New Jersey. First of all, I've never been to New Jersey, so I'm really excited. Ramon Ray has always said that it's the vacation capital of the world, so apparently I am missing out if I haven't been there yet. So we are going to make that happen, and I'm just trying to get the link here. Maria actually helped me get this a little better. It's going to be, you're going to go to transformyourbusiness2023.com. That's transformyourbusiness2023.com to register for the event. We're going to have an incredible lineup of speakers. They will be Ramon Ray, Trevor Houston, Amberly Lago, I just love her, Adam Smith, TM Hyman, of course, the amazing Megan DiMartino, Crystal Amata from the Mom Link, who am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Jeannie, Dr. Jeannie.
Dr. Jeannie is going to be sending us a speech for a presentation about TEDx and getting how to get on there. So it's going to be really, 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 really
You say
fun.
Trevor?
Yes, I did say Trevor
Yeah.
Hughes. How could I miss Trevor? So he will be there as well. And we have the Sparkle Sisters that are going to be making their appearance and doing a panel discussion. The Sparkle Sisters is a sisterhood that started organically. We all got an Airbnb at BWC Dallas, and it's just kind of been a godsend.
David, 8 women in one house, David.
in one
8
house.
women.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
It was fun. So we've connected in our hearts, and we're continuing. We're going to do a devotion together. I'm super excited about that. And we're just like my prayer squad, my squad of Sparkle Sisters. So I hope you guys join us. There is a VIP option. You'll get all the recordings for a lifetime, a swag bag. There's going to be a ebook that's available that will give you all the notes for the keynote speakers, and then lifetime access. Oh, you with the VIP, that will give you the special access like this, where you can come in to the Zoom and actually interact with the speaker. So if you don't normally, Brian, get to talk to Ramon Ray, it'll give, oh, well, no, he won't be there live. But if you don't get to talk to Amber Lago and any of the other
Adam Smith, it would be fabulous too.
You can talk to him and ask questions during the Zoom with the VIP access. So I hope you guys join us. TransformYourBusiness2023.com, and I would love feedback on the registration landing page, all the things, and especially the summit. This is the third one I've kind of done. I had my Faith Forward Virtual Summit. I helped Stars Tina with her Elevate Your Business, and I love virtual summits, so putting it together. So I would love to hear. That's how you grow. So any feedback that you can give, the good, the bad, the ugly, give it to me all.
So what I want to say, David, is that she's a girl person that you need to know, because as you elevate and expand your business, I'm talking to you, David, that, she's talking about, because truth of the matter is when I came in and she was sharing how we knew each other, when she asked me to speak on her Faith Forward Summit, and it was so well done. And I said, who did this? Who did this? And she said, me. I said, you? Okay, who are you? And so the thing is that that's my heart, is to elevate others, to highlight them, so people know them, because she's so good at what she does, but she is beginning to take her lampshade off and speak. But with what you're doing, David, your platform, don't you agree, Angeline? I mean, it's probably inappropriate that I'm speaking this way. That's okay. I can do this. But don't you see don't you, Maria? Yeah. I mean, I see you doing lots of trainings, lots of things that will need Miss Angeline Moore's Kingdom Sparkle Agency.
I help simplify your systems and how we can help you focus on amplifying your sparkle in the kingdom, and that's my mission and goal. So hence the Kingdom Sparkle Agency. So yeah, David, I'd love to talk with you more. I loved you being here. I think you're the first guest that I didn't really know, so I was really stoked to learn and hear, and then that's mainly why I was also staying in the back end, so I could just listen the whole time. Because it was really cool to get to know you tonight. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. Maria, Brian, Miss Birdie, thank you for coming through. Make sure you register for the free event. It is a free event with a VIP option. And then Megan, do you want to say anything else?
Well, I just would like David to close us out with whatever you'd like to share, sir.
Well, first of all, I have to just say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I just absolutely love what you're doing, Megan. You're really touching people's hearts and their minds and make a difference in the world. And that's what we're all here for, is to serve each other. And, one of the best insights I've ever gotten in my life is that our problems are our credentials. And when we follow our heart and we make a commitment to whatever is important to us, whatever problems we face, become our credentials when we solve them. And those credentials are what we can use to help other people transform their lives too. And Megan, you're giving people the power to turn whatever is a problem in their life into their power and into their gift. And I appreciate that so much because you really are a beautiful soul. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And that is truly, I'm so pleased and blessed that you get me and you see the intent, because really this is about not a business. It is about giving people platforms to just share and connect. So,
Yeah.
you know, and we do have David, a clubhouse doctor. You can tell him that I said that, Angeline. Pastor Anthony Moore. No, Anthony.
Anthony Hart.
I need to go to sleep.
You're tired. Like this
Anthony
past
Hart
week,
and I have a
this past
clubhouse
time.
room called the Heart Link on
Heart Link,
Tuesday
every
afternoons. Tuesday afternoons.
Are you on Clubhouse? Yes, you are on Clubhouse. You were on there Saturday, right? With everyone? With Barbara? That's right.
Yes,
I'm
he
gonna
was.
find
He
you
was.
and I'll
But
pin
anyway,
you.
Anthony and I have a room called the Heart Link. David, I think you'd enjoy that as well. And I know you'd enjoy Anthony, and he would enjoy you very, very much. So kind of, it's, let's see, 6 o'clock Eastern. So just work back. Okay, it's 5 o'clock my time. So 4 o'clock yours on Tuesday.
Okay.
4 o'clock Tuesday. Yeah.
I'll find you on Clubhouse to make sure I
Yeah,
pin you.
thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. And once you get the link, David, then you'll get the notification for this every week. That's how these guys just keep coming in. Well, thank you all so much. Have a blessed night, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.